Hello there, fellow oscillators. I'm going to do a bit of cold reading here and surmise that A, you know Aurora got an armoury deck, and B, you realise that there is nothing in there for the cool lightning hero. Impressive, I know, but what if I told you only one of those statements was actually correct? I've been testing out Skyzyk for a little while now to see if it is viable in Oscilio. My thinking is that it's a card that maybe ever so slightly raises the floor of Oscilio, as it is lightning, so it amps, pitches for Channel Lightning Valley, and can be discarded with Flash of Brilliance. It blocks 3, which is very much needed in Oscilio, and it can be a 0 for 4 with either Embodiments or Current Funnel, so it's definitely versatile. What I've got for you today is a game against Jarl with Skyzyk in my deck. I'll do some commentary on lines too, as they're just fun to review, and we shall see if Skyzyk does what it says on the tin. So I lost dice roll, and I'm going second. My opponent is on AB3, which in my experience is standard. We have a good hand for going second. And here on my first turn, I do cycle the Null Shock out of my hand, and we already see the Skyzyk. Now, seeing crumble to eternity turn 0 is not great, which means we are on the clock. Now here, I take a line that guarantees me an arsenal and keeps Channel Lightning Valley around for another turn. We also get to see Skyzyk fulfilling one of its many roles. It's not glamorous, but it does do its part. And the Stalagmite block here altered the path we took, but not the destination. And here I play straight into a card after this that I didn't expect, but we are at least keeping the channel around. So yeah, I've not seen Expose the Elements actually played in Jarl since the armoury deck came out, so I wasn't expecting to get blown out by this. So we're left walking through ice without any boots. Fortunately, Oscilio doesn't actually have legs. But because my boots are now gone, I decide that I need to preserve as much damage as possible. I'm no longer trying to race to find the combo, so I keep the discharge instead of filtering. And this hand was interesting. It's not exactly the best way to follow up on having your win con just exploded. However, this is a 6 blast Oblivion list, so having conductivity up early is pretty good, as I'll certainly be needing those embodiments. And I was lucky the Oakenold wasn't fully fused as well. Now, I only need 1 connectivity, so I can cycle the others away. I play the discharge on this turn at my arsenal because I want it clear for the lightning surge, as I need to start putting some very functional turns together. My rationale for playing the Mind Warp is that I want to hopefully get a Brilliance back and play it with as big a hand as possible, so I save the etchings for when I can get over the AB3. And Mind Warp doesn't really do much in this matchup anyway because we're not really racing. Luckily, the Mangle here doesn't have an effect, so it's just 8 damage. I'd be very sad to lose more equipment. And in these spots, I really like Sigil of Aether because your opponent doesn't know if they're pitching an entire card for just 1 damage or if they're just letting a spell get surge. I'm also rewarded for clearing my arsenal on the previous turn. It gets me to that crucial Amp 4. And I know this is a Skyzyk video, but don't expect the card to feature too much because it's not exactly a flashy card. It is something that I'm expecting to slowly raise the floor of Oscilio, so it'll be doing kind of subtle things here and there. I'm able to get my Brilliance back, which means on the following turn I can, well, I'll arsenal it and I can choose to play it on my turn or not. Luckily, I only need 1 gun and a flash here, so I can play the Brilliance out of arsenal, pitching gun and a flash. This isn't really ideal. I probably would have rather saved the Brilliance for playing on my turn, so on the following turn I can get it popped and draw a card from it. But I'm still going to get a card draw, and on the next turn I'll get 2 card draws from Brilliance as well. Now on this turn I just go for setup. It's not like I have much choice anyway. You could say that I am oscillating between setup and power turns. But I'm just going to use Blast here to bounce conductivity to make myself an embodiment, and then I've got go again guaranteed for next turn as well. And then I'm also drawing 2 cards, so I'm actually setting up quite a nice turn, hopefully. It does mean that Whhhaaaattttt will be unused this turn, and it always hurts my soul when I see Whhhaaaattttt on like amp 4 or 5, even higher, and it's not been used. So I pay for the Winter's Bite with the Tunic because I don't actually have a specific need for Tunic anymore. I can't do it on a combo turn, so I may as well use it to save myself a card in hand. The Arctic Incarceration really does stifle the turn. I've already got 2 blues though, so depending on what we drew here, it was looking okay regardless. But as you can see, this hand without interruption would have been nuts. Sadly, its full potential was never realized. If you want, pause the video here and see what line you would take. So we're seeing Skyzyk fulfill another one of its roles here. Again, nothing spectacular, but solid. I could have maybe pitched the Skyzyk, played the Gone and Flash instead, but not bounced it, and then arsenaled the Lightning Surge to guarantee go again. But I think I figured I was due a Sigil of Lightning soon, and also I didn't mind taking another off turn to set up. To be fair, that Pulverize deletes my first attack anyway, so a setup turn was basically mandatory. And the spell here just forces through a lot of damage. I guess whenever my boots do get blown up against Jarl, I'm always worried about fatigue. And with him being at such low life already, that's probably not happening, so we are starting to race. Now this would have been a very nice hand if it wasn't for the Pulverize. I'm planning on cycling both the Blink and the Null Shock, I think, because I can't really use them because of the Pulverize effect, and I'm certainly not fully blocking that thing out. Now, so I use the Flash of Brilliance to give me a conductivity back here, which means I have go again guaranteed for the turn after this one. And on this upcoming turn now, I can just play my Sigil, amp 1, and at least ask for 1 card from my opponent. Now this is a very good hand, again, thanks to Blasted Oblivion. Heart of Ice doesn't really do much because if I need to Oscilio, I'll do it before that resolves, and I'm not playing any D-reacts into Jarl anyway. This CNC is very sad. I think I probably would have won the game here if it hadn't been for that CNC, but I do value keeping that gun in a flash. Now, I don't know if I like the line I take this turn. I could just play the blast and do another setup turn, but again, I haven't seen any Sigils of Lightning yet, so my thinking was I'm bound to see one very soon, and this is more damage, the line I take. Plus, I do need to pressure his life a bit, as my life total isn't looking too healthy either. Now, the Seeds of Tomorrow here makes sending the blast to Oblivion a little bit pointless, but I don't want to IP myself, so I just send it anyway. My opponent here just passes back to me, which means he maybe played the Seeds of Tomorrow a little bit prematurely, but I guess he wanted to get the value. I decided to cycle the Null Shock, but I could have saved that instead and played Discharge, Blast, then Shocked for 5, pitching Skyzyk, bouncing a conductivity and making an embodiment. I get very lucky with what I cycled though. We see again Sigil of Ether proving itself to be a tricky card to deal with. Our opponent pitches for it. I don't have a spell, so that's another card out of his hand that he can't block with. I have a very nice turn here. Skyzyk showing itself to be useful again. Although to be fair, I think this turn is the result of a misplay. I just got lucky. And Tunic, again, being used to cover the Frostbite, which means that Stalagmite basically did nothing this game. Now at this point, I'm just digging for the last spell in my deck, which is a Comet Storm. That would easily see the game out. Now on this turn, I block with my gloves and with the blast. It's only psychological damage being blocked, and normally against Jarl, blocking with your equipment for no reason is pretty suicidal. But I figure I'll be near emptying his hand for the rest of the game, so I want to get my block value now, and it's not like he'll have space to destroy it. Now on this turn, I'm just trying to pressure as many cards, or take as many cards out of that hand as I can until I draw my spell. The Fruits of the Forest that he plays here is very, very good. So now we have full tempo, and this hand is actually pretty good. And cycle. With hindsight, I probably should have cycled the channel because it's unlikely my opponent is going to let me draw, or let me hit with any damage for the rest of the game if they can help it. I could save the discharge for the Gun Flash instead of Flittering here, but I don't really think it makes a difference. I probably, as I said, should cycle the Channel Lightning Valley, just because I was expecting my opponent to fully block anyway. Now in this one we do actually get through, so we do get a draw, but as my opponent probably guessed, I can't use it. Now my opponent conceded here, but I opened up my deck at the end to see how it would have played out, and those hands would have let me keep up pressure until I saw the Comet Storm, as you're seeing now. Next turn, I would have, well, before the end of turn, I'd have played the Somersault just to get rid of it, and I'd have played the Sigil of Lightning, and my next turn would have been 4 into 4 into 4 into 4, and then the following turn would have been 4 into 2 into 4 into 3 into 4, which probably kills him, but if it doesn't, I then get the Comet Storm, which is at least 5 arcane, which he wouldn't be able to stop. And there you have it, footage of Skyzyk in action. After testing it in around 30 or so games, I have come to the conclusion that it's an okay card for the deck. It fits in well, doesn't stick out badly or anything, but it's not at all mandatory for the deck right now. Out of all of its functions, I would say the block 3 is by far the best because Oscilio sorely needs those. I suppose this was also accidentally a video on how to beat Jarl without Lightning Greaves, but I wouldn't recommend trying it at home. But if you want to try Skyzyk out in your own decks, let me know how it goes. Maybe there's some secret tech to add with it that I haven't yet figured out. Anyway, hope you learned something from this, or at least somewhat entertained. Oscilio is good at that, so many cool lines available with this deck, which is why he is right up there amongst my favourite heroes. And with that, I wish you a good day.